All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our very last Insights from a Admissions Officer webinar. My name is Dave, and I'm an admissions officer here at UC San Diego. I primarily work with students in the local San Diego area. In today's session, our goal is to share helpful information that will help you through the application process and hopefully ease some of your concerns along the way. The content we'll cover is relevant for both first year applicants and transfer students, although there are some topics that are specific to one population. I'll be serving as today's moderator, but I'm also joined by another admissions officer who will be able to provide additional perspectives, and I will introduce them in a little bit. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Um, I would like to share a few housekeeping items with you. So today's webinar is being recorded, and a copy of that recording will be available in about 2 weeks on our undergraduate admissions events page. So you'll be able to revisit the information at your own pace. We'll begin with some general context and highlight some, general topics, and then also let you know what we'll be covering today. And then shortly after that, we will enable the Zoom Q&A function. So once it's open, you're welcome to submit your questions as we go. Please keep those questions more general, since this session is meant to be broad and helpful to all students. For personal or case-specific questions, we really encourage you to use our Contact Us form. And just a reminder, all submitted questions are visible to all attendees. So because the session is just about 60 minutes, we'll keep our presentation brief, but helpful. We will also have staff in the background answering your questions in the chat. While they might not be able to get to all of your questions, you're welcome to follow up with our undergraduate office team afterwards using that Contact Us form I mentioned earlier from under the Resources tab on our website. We'll be happy to connect you with you directly or refer you to the right campus department. If you'd like to enable captions, click the live transcript icon in your Zoom toolbar and select Show Captions. If we have family members or other guests joining, please note that UC San Diego, in line with UC policy, can only share student-specific admissions information directly to that student or that applicant. Students, you are the ones that must reach out for clarification for your personal circumstances, and we appreciate your understanding and cooperation with this policy. Thank you again for joining us. Now, I made mention of the Contact Us form in the previous slide a couple of times. Just please remember to submit general questions during today's webinar, nothing really student-specific or case-based. If you do need assistance or clarification, we encourage you to use the Contact Us form, and you can see displayed on the slide where you can find that on our website. Also, before we begin sharing some general UC Insight information, we'd like to highlight our past webinars as well for Insights from Admissions Officer. Today's program is the final session in a 4-part series. If you were unable to attend any of the previous sessions, the recordings are available on that event's recordings website. All of the recordings are timestamped, so it really makes it easy for you to jump directly to topics that you're interested in. For example, if you want to learn about what makes students stand out on the UC application, we recommend you watching that very first session on September 25th. If you'd like guidance on activities and additional comments section of the UC application, our October 2nd Insight webinar offered in-depth information on these topics. Each session covers different topics based on the most common questions submitted ahead of time, ensuring that you receive really relevant and useful information. We intentionally avoid repeating topics across these webinars so we can cover a wide range of topics. We're confident these recordings will answer most of your questions. After reviewing them, if you still need clarification, just reach out. This helps us focus on new questions rather than repeating information that we've already covered. And finally, we'd like to mention that our housing and dining team has hosted a separate webinar covering housing guarantee and what to expect when you're living on campus. And there's two sessions depending on if you're a first year or a transfer student. So we encourage you to watch those as well. All right. So UC San Diego offers more than 160 majors across 10 academic schools. Whatever field you're interested in, UC San Diego likely has a program that fits your goal. On the screen, you'll see a list of our selective majors. We encourage you to choose an alternate major on the application if your first choice is selective. These majors are open to transfer students, but with first year and transfer admissions, it's highly competitive, okay? For more information about our majors, please refer to the September 25th Insights webinar. We go in greater depth on what selective majors mean, as well as how students can double major. Really, for that deeper explanation of majors, we recommend you viewing those prior recordings. All right, and then we want to highlight an important update regarding the college ranking section of your application. So applicants to UC San Diego now have the option to rank their top 4 colleges in order of preference, which can increase the likelihood of being assigned to a college that you prefer. It is an optional process, and if you choose not to rank your top 4, UC San Diego will just simply assign you to one of the 8 colleges upon admission. Please note that your college ranking, it doesn't affect or influence your chances of being admitted to UC San Diego. Admissions decisions are made independently of the college system that we have. Additionally, you can be any major in any of the colleges, and the colleges themselves aren't assigned, students aren't assigned to each of the colleges based on their major either. So for more information about the college system, we recommend watching our college's webinar recording from September 8th. It explains the general education requirements offered by each of the colleges and provides guidance on sort of how to rank them based on your academic interests and personal values. Also, we cover the college system in some of our prior Insights webinars as well. And to access these, again, you want to simply visit our admissions website, click on resources. There you'll find a wide range of content on important topics, and then new content is basically added every week. So please be sure to check it regularly. And then finally, we encourage you to take advantage of the many resources that we have before submitting your questions or filling out that contact us form. We have dedicated a significant amount of time just putting as much information on our website and through our publications as possible. So for example, on your website, you'll find a wide range of helpful information and materials, including applicant information, details on the majors, financial aid and scholarships, how to schedule a campus tour, event recordings, our contact us page. We also have digital publications such as the admissions guide, personal insight questions guide, a detailed breakdown of all the GE requirements for each of the 8 colleges, as well as our community brochure. If you cannot find the information you need on our site, the next resource we recommend is also the University of California's website as well. It provides a lot of detailed guidance on how to apply, how to complete the UC application, how we review applications, not only us, but the other UC campuses as well, and much, much more. There are many sources of information online, and not all of them are accurate. We'll kind of discuss that a little bit later in the presentation. So to ensure that you're following the correct guidelines and meeting all the deadlines, we really encourage you to rely on our website and the official UC website as your primary resource. All right, so without further ado, now that we've kind of shared some important information to consider, it is my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Cassie. So Cassie, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone. Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. So my name is Cassie. I'm an admissions officer here at UC San Diego. I've been working here for a little bit over a year, and I cover the California Central Coast as well as Santa Clara County within the Bay Area in Northern California. So I work with domestic students of all kinds, both transfers and first years. Maybe I saw some of you this past fall. So super excited to talk to you all today about that admissions process.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Cassie. On our next slide, you'll see the topics we plan to cover over the next few minutes. We'll keep the information concise to ensure that we can cover as much as we can. We are now enabling the Q&A, so you can submit questions related to the topics we're discussing. We do ask that you listen to the content first before submitting questions, as we may actually cover the answers during the presentation. So please try to submit questions only if you need clarification after a topic has been discussed. So our first topic is, first of all, UC San Diego is a highly competitive campus. Last year, we were one of the top UC campuses in terms of total applications, and also one of the highest admit rates. Even so, the applicant pool continues to grow stronger each year. So, Cassie, could you walk us through the UC San Diego's average GPA and what students should aim for when applying?
Yes. So when you're looking at those numbers there, the first big takeaway is that this is just kind of a baseline of the students that we admitted this past year. So as Dave was saying, we had over 136,000 applicants for our first year this past year, which is about 39,000 students that we admitted. It's a lot of students. So if you're looking at that 4.12 to 4.29 for our first years and you're worried that you don't fall within that range, keep in mind that we admit a wide range of students from a wide range of different high schools and different backgrounds. So 25% of our admitted students had a GPA below 4.12 and 25% had a GPA above 4.29. So you do not have to be within that GPA range to get into UC San Diego. And just because you are within that GPA range, that doesn't mean that you're a guaranteed admission to UC San Diego. GPA is just one factor out of many that we consider with your first year application. The same goes with our transfers as well. We receive fewer applications overall from our transfers, and our admit rate is higher, but GPA isn't everything. We consider a lot of different factors. So when you're looking at these numbers, use this just as a baseline of how you think you might fit in with our applicant pool, but it does change every single year depending on who is applying.
Great, thank you so much, Cassie, for highlighting that. It's really important for students to remember that not to be discouraged if their GPA is lower than the range here. We really strongly encourage you all to apply if you meet that minimum GPA requirement, because we conduct a holistic review of our application. So GPA is only one of the factors considered. And that middle 50% GPA, just keep in mind that 25% of our 38,000 admits had a lower GPA than that. So we might look deeper in your grades, and we consider all parts of the application. So with the UC GPA, that just represents that 10th and 11th grade coursework. So ninth grade is not included. So it's already going to look a little bit different than what's on your high school transcript. And then we do add additional weight to those more advanced courses. And that is capped at 8 additional bonus points, essentially. So that's the GPA figure that we are using. We also, in addition to applying to UC San Diego, even if you don't quite have that GPA, your UC GPA, we also encourage students to also consider more than one campus. It's important not to put all your eggs in one basket. All the UCs offer incredible opportunities for our students. So it's important for students not to limit themselves to one particular campus. All right, so on to our next topic. Let's talk a little bit about UC San Diego's pre-professional programs. Can you explain for us, Cassie, what resources we offer for students to set themselves up for postgraduate success? This is a question we've received so much during our recruitment visits and our college fairs. If you could just please touch on some of the support we provide students at UC San Diego.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So I love talking about our Career Center on campus. We had the pleasure of visiting their space recently, and they're staffed by the happiest people I've ever met on our campus. I don't know why they're so happy, but they were really passionate about working with students, whether you want to go straight into a job after getting your bachelor's degree, or if you want to go on to grad school. Don't let the Career Center title itself fool you. They work with you regardless of whatever your outcomes are post-graduation. They offer one-on-one advising, group advising. They have career fairs that take place every quarter. They have workshops for students. So if you want to work on those cover letters, those resumes, if you want to work on those social skills for the interview stuff, and after COVID, some of y'all really need that. But they have a lot of resources available to our students. So if you want to take advantage of it, our Career Center works with students throughout your time as both an undergraduate and a graduate student if you are staying on our campus for your graduate program as well. And then for up to 6 months after you graduate too. So again, if you're looking for grad school or if you're just looking for a job, they have all these resources available to you. And I'm a stats person, so they also have the data and the numbers as well. They'll tell you what percentage of our students have gotten into different medical schools, what different jobs and employers that our alumni have gone on into. So if you're interested in looking at that data too, their website has all that information. And I will preface as well, this is just a general overview of what our Career Center has to offer. If you look at their website, and one of my colleagues will put that link in the chat as well, but if you look at their website, they have so much more information, and they're really your best resource for any kind of questions you have too. This is just a brief overview, but they have a lot. So aside from just general advising, career and grad program advising, if any of you are interested in law school and medical school, and typically a good number of students will ask us about law and med. So we have pre-law specific advising, and we also have pre-health specific advising. So UC San Diego has a new pathway program with the University of San Diego, which is a private university here in our beautiful city of San Diego. We have a new direct law pathway. They just announced this less than a month ago. And political science students can complete their undergraduate degree at UC San Diego in 3 years. And then with the help of our pre-law advisors, they go on to University of San Diego's law school and graduate from there in 3 years. So that's a total of 6 years for your law degree instead of the typical 7. So if anyone here is interested in law school, that might be a good pathway for you. I believe their first cohort is going to be selected next fall. But if you're interested in med school, so many of our students are interested in medical school. We have group advising, one-on-one advising, so you can work with a med advisor. They'll also connect you with our alumni. So if there's a UC San Diego student in the medical schools that you're interested in, who are in the careers and the fields that you're interested in, they can connect you with them. You can talk to them about their experience going through medical school, what they did as an undergrad student, maybe some internships, opportunities, shadowing, things to take advantage of. And they also will help you get to where you need to go. They have individualized plans regardless of what kind of medical school you want to go to. So if you wanted a dental school, for example, they'll help you figure out the classes you need to take every single year while you're here as an undergraduate at UC San Diego and what you can do to get to where you need to be. So our Career Center is really great in that regard. If you're just looking for a grad program in general, though, we have some really great 5-year programs. So a bachelor's, master's joint program. A lot of our departments do offer this. So a lot of our engineering departments will, bioengineering, structural engineering, computer science, and engineering all have a master's, bachelor's joint program. So you've got both degrees in just 5 years, and then you're out into the real world. And then we also have things within biological sciences. So maybe you want to get a master's before going on to medical school. You can do that in 5 years total. Same thing with international studies, economics. So if you are interested in sticking around at UCSD for a little bit longer, just one more extra year, a lot of our departments do offer this program. You can tack on that extra time and come out with another degree to boot.
Great. Thank you so much for explaining all of that. A lot of important information there. I think one of the number one questions I receive at colleges there is like, do you have pre-law or do you have pre-med? So that is definitely a question on a lot of students' minds. But a lot of great resources through the Career Center, as Cassie mentioned. We're going to also share the link to the Career Center's website in the chat. And additionally, we actually hosted a spotlight webinar for the Career Center on October 16th. In this recording, they explained how they can be a valuable resource for our students once they become Tritons. So we really highly recommend watching it after this event. All right, so on to our next topic. So before we really dive into our next topic, I wanted to briefly display our transfer requirements because it will help you understand this will provide a lot of context for our next slide, where we will dive into some of these more specifics. You can see transfer students must have a minimum of 60 UC transferable semester units or 90 quarter units, meaning that we are accepting students at junior level standing. We expect a competitive GPA of at least 3.0 or higher. Students also must complete the 7-course pattern, which consists of 2 UC, basically 2 English composition courses, 1 mathematics course, and then 4 additional courses from at least 2 of the following categories: arts and humanities, physical and biological sciences, or social and behavioral sciences. Now, an additional requirement is major preparation. These are the courses that you're required to take to be eligible for transfer in a select number of majors. You can see them listed on the slide here. So not every student will have to complete major prep, but if the major you're interested in applying to requires it, it is an absolute non-negotiable requirement to complete. So with that being said, let's go on to our next slide. In our previous webinar, one of the Insights webinars, we discussed holistic review in depth. We use holistic review for first year evaluation. Holistic review utilizes 13 unique factors that include both academic and non-academic items to evaluate the applications. We balance all these factors together in making our decision, and we don't really favor one over the other. How we approach evaluation of transfer applications, however, is much different. So Cassie, could you talk about how we evaluate transfer applications and some of those key differences between transfer evaluation and first year?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So we love our transfer students. Before I talk about our evaluation, 1/3 of our students on campus are transfers. So if you're interested in attending UC San Diego and you're not able to come during your first year for whatever reason, we have a really fantastic transfer pathway. Now I'm going to talk about the evaluation process, but do join us if you're interested in coming as a transfer. Check out our Triton Transfer Hub as well. They're a really fantastic resource if you want to know what it's like being a transfer student on our campus. But before you can join our campus, you have to apply first, I guess. So when we were looking at your transfer evaluation, we use comprehensive review, which essentially means we care more about you meeting the minimum requirements, particularly on the academic side of things, than the entire picture. So when we're looking at those transfer applications, we're using those same requirements that Dave just mentioned and did a really good job explaining in the previous slide. So those 60 UC transferable semester units or 90 quarter units if you are coming from the quarter system, a competitive GPA, which really varies depending on the major that you're applying into, that 7-course pattern, major preparation, and having good standing at the institution that you are leaving. So these are all really critical. They're all very important in completing for your application, and you need to be done and meeting all of these requirements by the end of the spring term before you transfer. So if you are applying for fall 2026, we'd expect you to be done by the end of spring 26 semester or spring 26 quarter, again, depending on the kind of institution you're coming from. If you're looking at any of these requirements and you're thinking you won't be able to hit them until the end of summer, unfortunately, that does not qualify you for admission to UC San Diego, or at the very least, not admission to your major. So if you are working on major preparation, the kind of courses that you need to complete in order to transfer over to UC San Diego, that also has to be done by the end of spring 26. So for example, our biological sciences majors, if anyone's interested, we have some really great programs at UC San Diego. But before you transfer, you need to be done with Calculus 1, Calculus 2, the General Bio series, and a General Chem series at the college that you're transferring over from. So if you don't think you're going to be able to be done with that by the end of spring beforehand, we will not admit you to the bio major. You will not qualify for it. It has to be done by the end of spring. So keep that in mind. We really do want our students to meet those minimum requirements. Aside from the academics, however, there's still those PIQs, the additional comments, the activities, the awards, the extracurriculars. Very much like the first year application, our transfers are filling out all that information as well. However, we don't really use it for our admission selection. So we're really looking at more of the academics for our transfers. The PIQs can be used for context. So for example, if you took a gap year, we might scan the PIQs to make sure you didn't secretly register at another institution and chose not to tell us or conveniently forgot. And same thing with additional comments. So if you did take a gap year, please let us know. We want to know what you were up to. Maybe you were traveling the world, maybe you were working at home, whatever it may be, give us information about you. But when it comes down to our selection and evaluation process, we're really looking at those academics. Activities, awards, etc., are not considered without evaluation. We're really happy that you're doing things outside of school and they will benefit you in the long run. But for our evaluation of your transfer application, we do not use those. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you so much, Cassie. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't spend time on those particular sections because we are just one UC campus, I know. But other campuses may use that holistic review process. So it's important to still put your time and effort in completing those sections thoroughly, even if they don't quite aren't quite used for UC San Diego's selection process for transfer admissions. So let's go ahead. And now we're going to cover some misconceptions. There's a lot of content out there about that students can access about the admissions process, whether it's on Reddit, YouTube, College Confidential. There is no shortage of guidance for students who are anxious about the college search process. The problem is that much of the information, or a lot of it at least, is not entirely accurate. So we would like to take this opportunity to talk about some of the most common misconceptions that we encounter when we're talking with students. So Cassie, could you talk about some of these misconceptions?
I totally can. So we're going to do a little two truths and a lie, or maybe in this case, two truths and three lies. So just addressing some of those common misconceptions. One, different UC campuses do not know what other campuses you've applied to. So sometimes there's this misconception that we know what other campuses you've applied to. And if you've already gotten into, say, Berkeley, we decide you don't need an admissions offer to UC San Diego. That's not true, I promise. So we will not know what other campuses you've applied to, and we won't know whether or not they're planning to admit you either. So when you're filling out that UC application, you can apply to just us, your favorite UC San Diego, or you can apply to all 9 undergraduate UC campuses. Completely up to you. We will have no way of knowing that. So we are only evaluating your application under the assumption that you're applying to us, and we want to see if you're a good fit for UC San Diego. That second myth, so you're not being compared to the entire applicant pool or the entire state either. A lot of times students will feel like they're competing against that 136,000 student applicant pool. It's a lot of students that we're admitting, but when we're evaluating your application, particularly from that first year applicant perspective, we're looking at you within the context of your high school. Every single high school is going to have different classes, different teachers, different resources, fundings, extracurriculars, anything you can think of. It's all going to be different. And we want to make sure that when we're giving you your admission decision and evaluating your application, we are looking at you within the context of what resources you did have available to you during high school. So that's how we're looking at you. We're not comparing you within the entire state of California, because there's a lot of Californians, nor are we comparing you against the 136,000 applicants. So keep that in mind. It's really just your applicant pool. So give us as much information as possible on your application about your high school. If you were only able to take a certain number of rigorous courses, if you had a lot of teacher turnover, if your high school just came into existence 2 years ago, this is all really helpful information that gives us a better idea of the educational background you come from. So keep in mind, we're looking at that high school, we're looking at where you come from. And then final myth there, PAQs are not the same as a traditional college application essay. So very likely you're applying to some other schools too. We get it. We might not be the favorite. We should be. But you might be filling out applications on the Common App. You might be applying to different schools on their own personal applications. And they'll likely ask you for essays there as well. Those essays that you're using for other schools are probably not transferable to the UC Personal Insight Questions, the PIQs. We really want you to treat the PIQs as a conversation. Don't treat it as an English essay or a creative writing assignment. We want to have that conversation with you and learn who you are as a person. Unfortunately, because there are 136,000 people of you, we never get to sit down with you. We never get to have an interview or a conversation. So this is really your opportunity to talk to us in written format. My biggest recommendation to students when I'm working with them is to record what they would answer for the PIQ out loud. Either play it back and just hear the way they spoke, what they were passionate about, the first things they mentioned when they were answering that PIQ, or just literally speech to text it. See what it looks like on the page, what it sounds like, and use that as the foundation and the baseline for how you build out your PIQ from there. We want to have that conversation with you. We want it to be informal. We don't want you to treat it as something that needs a beginning, middle, and end. We just want to hear about you. The more information you can hear or tell us about you, the better. We're not going to judge your grammar or your sentence flow or your spelling. I personally might judge your grammar, but I won't hold it against you. So just give us that conversational aspect. We want to hear from you and your passions and what you like to talk about versus what you think we want to hear, because there's nothing we want to hear except what you are as a person. So those are our myths. Moving on to the truths. The UC system does prioritize California students, but not localized. So we do care about our California students. If you're coming from a California community college, if you're perhaps a transfer student, we have articulation agreements with every single California community college, meaning that we can tell you which of your community college courses are directly transferable to UC San Diego or any other UC, and what that course equivalent would be here at UC San Diego for any of the classes you've taken. So that's really helpful. If you're coming from a California high school, we have those A through G course lists online on the University of California Office of the President website for any accredited California high school. So you can see exactly how your classes are and whether we approve the honors, things like that. So we do care about our high school students coming from California, our transfer students coming from California, but not from on a localized level. So we're not prioritizing students from the San Diego area. If you are from the San Diego area, that's fantastic. We don't have to convince you that our weather's nice. It's raining today, so it doesn't seem like it. But if we are not looking for just California students, we're not just looking for San Diego students, but it tends to work better when you come from California because we have those agreements. And that very last admissions truth, each UC campus does have their own evaluation process. So if you are applying to more than just UC San Diego, we have our own rules and regulations that we follow within our admissions office. At UC San Diego, if your senior year schedule changes a little bit and you're applying to us from high school, we don't need you to update us. We will see what your class schedule changes are once you choose to come to UC San Diego and send those transcripts to us. We don't need you to send us an email with any updates. We don't need to know what you changed. We'll find out later. But at UC Santa Cruz, for example, they do have you fill out an update form. So if your senior schedule changes, they want to hear about it because it could factor into your decision. So each UC campus has their own rules. They have their own policies. If you do have any questions, any updates or concerns, make sure that you are contacting the admissions office for each UC undergraduate campus that you have applied to, because they might each have their own rules and we don't talk to each other. So you telling us one thing but not telling another UC campus doesn't mean we're going to tell them. In fact, we won't. So make sure you're contacting everyone individually if you do have questions. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you so much, Cassie. And that was a lot of misconceptions that Cassie helped clear up, but that is only a fraction of the misconceptions that we hear when we go out and visit schools and talk to families at college fairs. So just an additional tip for student, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, that if you want information about the UC system, the application process, each individual campus, it's important to actually go to the source, right? Go to the UC website. They'll have the most accurate information that's up to date about the UC application process and other items. If you have questions that are campus specific, we at UC San Diego have the updated information that you'll need to know. A lot of times these outside sources might end up steering you in a wrong direction, right? I got the question at one of my high school visits recently, speaking about the PIQs, that a student had seen a video on YouTube where they said, this is the magic formula of which questions to pick in order to get admission to the UC. That is all nonsense, and that's made by people who have never actually read a UC application. So there's a lot of myths, there's a lot of misconceptions out there. So it's important to go direct to the source when it comes to these items. All right. And speaking of this, we do have a wonderful web resource or video that the University of California put out. That's on the University of California's YouTube page. So about a week ago, they published a great video reacting to TikTok clips and providing like application advice and addressing some of the common misconceptions we discussed today. If you haven't seen it yet, we really highly encourage you to check it out. It's a great video. As a reminder, again, our websites are the best source of information. Our admissions officers are the best source of information to get accurate admissions guidance. Um, Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the application, or we're going to talk a little bit about the application. So it's important to keep these important deadlines in mind. I do want to emphasize that we are less than 2 weeks away from the application deadline. If you haven't started your application or are still working on it, we really encourage you to not wait until the very last day to submit it. Try to do it before that Thanksgiving break, right? So it's important not to wait to the last minute. So, Cassie, could you highlight some of the key details about the application process?
Yeah, definitely. So as Dave was saying, make sure that you're not waiting until the last minute to submit. I get it. I'm an 11:59 p.m. kind of person when I'm submitting, but maybe do it 11:59 on November 30th or something if you're applying this year. So keep in mind, take your time with your application, but deadlines are really important. You don't want to wait until the last minute in case something happens. What if the website crashes? You don't know. So take your time, but also keep those deadlines in mind. We care about those a lot in the UC system. One UC application allows you to apply to any or all of our 9 UC undergraduate campuses. So you can apply to one or you can apply to all 9 or anything in between. It's up to you. 6, 7, don't know. We strongly recommend applying broadly. See what kind of campuses fit well with your interests. Visit them if you're able to. See if you like yourself there, if you like the environment, and can see yourself there for the next 2 or 4 years that you're going to be there. That being said, despite the fact that one application does go to all 9 undergraduate UC campuses, you do have to pay a different application fee for each campus that you apply to. So for our domestic students, that is $80 per campus for domestic students and $95 per campus for international students. There are fee waivers available through the UC app, and that fee waiver will give you up to 4 campuses to have waived. So if you're applying to 4, perfect amount. And then there are other UC or fee waivers that apply towards the UC system that you can use as well. After you apply in December, you'll receive access to our applicant portal. And when you're in our applicant portal right now, there's not much information there. Mostly it just has your information from your application. But eventually you will be able to do things like change your college ranking, change your major if you'd like to. And that's where you're going to find updates about your decision, about whether or not you've been admitted to UC San Diego, what your major is, etc. Your applicant portal for now is mostly just going to have some general information. And eventually, once that decision is out, you'll be able to see whether or not you've been admitted to UC San Diego through your applicant portal. So first years will hear back by the end of March, and our transfers will hear back by the end of April. Your deadline to accept admission for first years is May 1st, and for transfers, it's June 1st. So if you're admitted to UC San Diego, regardless of a first year transfer, you'll find out your major, your college placement, and your financial aid information all at the exact same time. So you do have all the information, the full picture that you need to make an informed decision about whether or not you would like to accept your offer. And we really hope you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for providing that key application information. We are going to cover a little bit in a couple of slides about what to do after you apply, like what's next. But a lot of that information will kind of set that stage. Before we get into that, I would like to just mention something we haven't covered in any of our sessions. It's an important consideration for international students when they are applying is demonstrating English proficiency. This is for students who completed their high school education or secondary education at a school where English was not the sole language of instruction. And even some domestic students who maybe moved to the United States and have started attending high school, but only had less than 3 years of high school study taught in English. So there's a number of ways that students can demonstrate English proficiency. One of the most common ways for transfer students to do so is to earn a grade of B or higher in those UCE transferable English composition courses that they're required to take to complete that 7-course pattern. That's probably the most common way that our transfer students are doing so. Keep in mind, though, It says B or higher. So if your community college or your institution that you're taking those courses has a plus or minus grade scale, B minus does not meet that B or higher standard. So just keep that in mind. Um, we have a detailed overview of just all the ways that you can, additional ways that you can demonstrate that English language proficiency. You can see some of the test scores that we accept, including the TOEFL and the International Language Testing System, or the Duolingo Lingo test as well. We must receive your exam results by early January. So plan on taking your exam no later than December, which is coming right up. You can see all the minimum scores there for each of those tests. So basically, there's other ways to demonstrate that, but these are the most commonly used by our students. So I just wanted to cover that subject real quick because of our 4 sessions that hasn't come up, and I think it's a very important topic for students to consider. So we're going to move on a little bit and just talk about, because we're less than 2 weeks away from the application deadline. Um, if you could, Cassie, talk a little bit about what students should keep in mind before they click submit. Again, hopefully not at 11:59 on the application due date. So what should they keep in mind before they click submit on their application?
Yeah, so you guys are really close, less than 2 weeks. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel there. Make sure that you are taking your time. Make sure that everything you're submitting is exactly how you want it to be. You can change very little about your application once you press submit. You can change things like your name and your email address and your social security number. And on that note, folks, please don't email your social security number to us. It's weird and it does happen. Don't do that. But you can change really little in general. So make sure that everything you're submitting is how you want it to be. If you're putting in your PIQs, maybe you worked on your PIQs on a different document, you typed it up in Google Docs, and you want to copy paste it now onto your UC application, that's totally fine. You can definitely copy paste. Make sure you're picking that final draft that you're copy pasting. And if you had some special formatting that you did with your essay, that's great. We love the creative choices, but when it shows up on our end, it's just a blob. So if you have a title that you put in your essay, if you had some creative paragraph breaks, we're happy for you, but the way it shows up on our end is just one giant paragraph. So keep that in mind if you are making any particular formatting choices, that we can only see it as one giant paragraph with those PIQs. Also, double check that your classes and grades are reported correctly. We recommend having an unofficial transcript next to you as you're working on that UC application. So if you're in high school, you have that high school transcript next to you. If you are in college, you have that community college transcript next to you. If you're in high school with dual enrollment, you have both next to you. Make sure you're reporting your grades exactly as they show up on the transcript. You're reporting the classes exactly as they show up. And a really big common mistake that we see students do is they report the wrong class type. So if you're in an AP course, tell us that it was AP. If you're in an AP course, we want to know that it was a more rigorous course that you took, that it's going to factor into your UC weighted GPA. So make sure you're reporting those class types correctly as well, and for the correct years too. And avoid these common mistakes. So utilize the additional comments section as it's supposed to be. It's just supposed to provide more context. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the next slide. So I'm just going to say use additional comments for additional comments. And then finally, make sure that you would be able to get a transcript for every school that you list on your application. If you're admitted to UC San Diego and you choose to attend, and again, we hope you do, we will ask you for a transcript from every institution that you've attended, including things from overseas. So if you do a study abroad program for a semester at a different high school in a different country, we are going to ask for a transcript from that high school. If you spent the first 2 or 3 years in a different country taking high school classes there, we are going to ask for a transcript from that high school. So plan accordingly. Keep that in mind. If you do plan to come to UC San Diego or any UC campus, we are going to ask for transcripts, official transcripts with grades and classes that should match what you were reporting to us. So keep that in mind when you're reporting which institutions you've attended on your UC application. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you so much, Cassie. Yes, so there's a lot of mistakes that are easily avoidable that students commonly make, and one of the reasons is that they just don't take that time and care to submit that, and then double check it, and maybe have somebody review the information that they put in. Also, kind of misconceptions about how, like, say, for instance, personal insight questions we'll use. So we went over that as sort of a common mistake that students make is when they're answering those PIQs, they're not approaching it like an interview, like how we want you to, right? We want you to, we're just trying to find out a little bit more about your experiences, some of the lessons that you've taken, some of your strengths, just to learn about you. And so students really just need to treat those like an interview. And we talk a lot about that subject on our September 25th Insights webinar. And so if you want more points about the personal insight questions, definitely check that recording out. We have a whole slide about personal insight questions. But yes, it's important to take your time, slow down a little bit, and then at the same time, not waiting till the last minute, right? It's so that's why we give you such a large window to submit your application. So with that being said, we're gonna take a look at some of the things that we don't consider. So we talk a lot about what we consider in your application and the items that we really pay attention to, but it's also important to consider what we don't look at and what we don't really doesn't really figure into our evaluation process. So, Cassie, could you touch on some of the things that we just don't consider as part of our decision-making process when it comes to admissions?
Yeah, so first and foremost, UC San Diego and the UC system is test blind. That means that we are not using any SAT or ACT scores. Even if you submit them to us, we will not be able to know you sent them. If you snuck them into your PIQs, don't do that, but we're not going to use them. We're going to pretend that we didn't see them. So we are a test blind institution. We are not using that as a factor in your decision, whether you are applying as a first year or a transfer. This is different from AP exam scores, IB exam scores, or any sort of exams that you're taking outside of the SAT or ACT. If you have done those, feel free to report those on your application. It's great to see. But aside from being a test-led institution, we do not look at letters of recommendation, resumes, or similar materials. So keep that in mind. Don't have anyone submit a letter of recommendation to us. We're not going to use it when we're reviewing your application. It will not be a part of your application. So don't worry about that. And please don't include links to personal websites, social media, and external content in your application. So on the previous slide, I talked about how we want you to use additional comments section. As an additional comment section, this is not a place for you to put in links. We are not going to open those links. We don't know where they go. So do not bother putting in any links to your resumes or your personal websites. I'm sure they are amazing, but we're still not going to open them because we don't know where it will take us. So don't bother using that for your additional comments. When you are using additional comments, this is really your place to give us more context about your situation. So like I mentioned earlier, if you have a high school that's pretty new, if you had a lot of teacher turnover in your high school or in your college or any sort of factors that might have impacted your academics, that might have impacted your extracurriculars, your life in and outside the classroom, that's really what additional comments are for. It's to give us that context that we can use and have in mind while we are evaluating and reading your application. It is not a place for an extra PIQ. We don't want to see that either. It's really just about context. It's about learning more about external factors. We also don't want your transcripts or test scores at the time of application. So any of your transcripts, we don't need you to send them to us. We're not going to keep them and we're going to ask for you to resend them later on anyway. So don't send them now. Same thing with like AP test scores, for example. Don't send them to us now. And any additional changes to your academic record once the application has been submitted. So like I said, this is UC San Diego specific. We will not take any any changes that you make to your application. It might be different with different UC campuses. So reach out to other campuses if you do have something you want to update. But at UC San Diego, we will not take any additional changes to your application. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you. Yes, that's important to know. We can't accept those changes. The only thing you can really change are like basic demographic information, stuff that we don't use in our evaluation process. So if you're like forgot about an activity that you really wanted to share with us, but you've already submitted your application, unfortunately, we cannot accept that and we can't consider that email as part of the evaluation process. And that kind of goes back to the prior slide where I talked about like taking your time and filling it out thoroughly. And there's no rush to submit it except to avoid submitting it at the last minute. But we can't accept any of those changes. And we do receive so many inquiries from students. When I'm answering messages that are sent to us through the contact for us form, almost every time I'm checking it, there's somebody trying to add something to their application that they just cannot add. And unfortunately, we cannot consider those as part of your application. Those are important points to note as you are finishing up your application, as you're getting ready to submit that application. So what happens when you're done, though? Like when you have submitted your application, what's next, right? It goes to our office, and then you have to release a little bit of control, right? Because the application is there, it's here for our consideration. So what is next? So many months pass between when you submit your application and when you hear back from us, and then when you arrive on campus if you're accepted and decide to come. So, Cassie, can you talk a little bit about that journey? Like what happens after the application, and what are things that students should keep in mind once they've submitted it?
Yeah, I love talking about a good journey. So, first and foremost, students, please monitor your email and your applicant portal. That's the biggest thing to pay attention to. Sometimes when we're reviewing your application, we have follow-up questions or we need a little bit more information from you. This is especially true for our transfers. Keep an eye on your email because we might be reaching out to you for more information, and sometimes it can completely hinder us from making a decision on your application. So check your email, and we also really suggest that you are using an email address that is not tied to your school, especially for our first year students. A lot of times those high school email addresses will completely block an email from us, or they will just close your email account once you graduate. So we don't want you to use those. We don't want you to miss out on emails from us that could be really critical to your application decision. So try and use a personal email if you can, and check it, every day if you're able to look for anything new from us. And the same thing goes to our applicant portal. If we need more information or if your decision comes out, it's going to show up on your applicant portal. So check there for deadlines, for updates, for important information, and just resources in general. We usually do webinars and stuff in the spring too, or if you just want more information, there's more info in the spring. So keep an eye on that email, that applicant portal, once you have access to it, once you've submitted your application. Also on the applicant portal, you can change your college ranking and your major too. So up until the end of January, you can make any changes to your college ranking. And like Dave mentioned earlier, if you do have any further questions about our college ranking system, it's in a previous webinar. Check it out. We have a really cool college ranking system, but you can make changes later on. So if you just want to submit your UC application right now, you don't want to get overwhelmed by our different colleges and you're a little confused by the process, think about it later. Think about it after the holidays. You can come back to it up until the end of January. That's for our first years. For our transfers, we have that transfer academic update. So for transfers, you'll receive an email asking you to update the final fall grades that you received this year and then confirm the classes that you are taking in winter and spring for this next year. So we want to make sure that whatever you reported to us is still accurate. We want to know what grades you're getting at the end of fall. So transfers, you need to submit that transfer academic update or the TAU by the end of January 31st. So keep that in mind. If you do need to make any changes to the grades that you have received or the classes that you plan to take, and remember to keep in mind all those transfer requirements that we talked about earlier, this is your opportunity to do so through the transfer academic update. And just in general, keep in mind all the deadlines that we have. We have our decision accept your offer deadline because once you hit that deadline, we start talking about housing and next steps and getting you enrolled for classes. So deadlines are super important. Make sure to accept your offer on time. For our first years, that's May 1st. For our transfers, that's June 1st. Keep these deadlines in mind. They're going to be on your applicant portal as well. And then once you do accept your offer, we're going to ask for transcripts from you. So make sure that you're meeting the deadlines for our transcripts as well. That can delay your opportunity to sign up for classes, to register for anything. So make sure you're meeting all those deadlines, that you do have those transcripts prepared. If there's anything where you might need to take a little longer to get a transcript, if it's a transcript coming from overseas, if it's test scores that you took 10 years ago, anything like that, that might take a little longer to get to that. So plan accordingly, plan ahead, because we do have these deadlines and we expect you to meet them.
Thank you so much. A lot of great information. That way, students are prepared. They know exactly what's going to happen after they submit their application. I just want to emphasize, like the official documents. Yes, please meet all the deadlines. It helps us out. It helps you out as we get you prepared to become a UC San Diego student. A couple of additional things with the documents. Um, at the same time, it's kind of like with the application. Don't do it too soon, right? You don't have to submit it right away. Just like your application, there's no bonus points for submitting it early. Um, don't say you're a first year student who's coming in. Don't send us your transcript before your graduation date, right? Because we're just going to ask for another one. Creates more work for you, creates more work for us. Um, Make sure that all the information we need on those official documents is there, such as their high school graduation date or spring grades. But also, don't wait till the last minute either. So there's that happy medium where we have all the information, but you're not waiting till the last minute. So that's important not only to keep in mind when it comes to the application process, but also when you're submitting those final documents as part of the onboarding process for you as a student. So, with that being said, we covered a lot of ground today. That's all for us today, and it is our final insights from an admissions officer webinar for the fall 2025 or fall 2026 cycle. I want to thank my colleague Cassie for sharing her insights, and thank you all for joining us. We hope you found the information helpful, and we look forward to reviewing your applications. Good luck, future Tritons, and enjoy the rest of your day.